Silverback Dilligiff says Tre Brown was number 1 at PFF at something, but yeah, I hope he keeps improving. PFF just ran an article about the best in press coverage this past year, and the guy that stood at the number 1 in press coverage was our own Tre Brown. It was an 88.5 grade when he was in press coverage by PFF. Brown was a sporadic starter for the Seahawks, said PFF, but his 88.5 press coverage grade was the best in the NFL. Despite his size, Brown has made a name off his physicality at the line of scrimmage, looking to turn every battle into a dogfight. Across 145 snaps, Brown was targeted just 22 times and allowed a 59.1 completion percentage. He might not be a household name, but Brown snagged 2 interceptions, forced 5 incompletions in press coverage, and routinely made life harder for the opposing quarterbacks and receivers. So that was the stat that was presented out there by PFF. Interesting, isn't it? Interesting grade. Now, the little part where we go back to easy advantages for the new coaching staff to come in here and take advantage of. Old coaching staff like zone coverage. So if I run press, do you tend to see zone or man come out of press coverage? Tend to see man coverage looks out of press. Doesn't mean you can't run zone. You certainly can. But the tendency would be I'm going to see man coverage out of press coverage, right? But we don't like running man coverage in Seattle under the Carroll scheme. We saw last year that when you looked at the highest rated cornerbacks for your Seattle Seahawks in man coverage last season, 2 of the highest graded guys in the NFL in man coverage were Devon, Witherspoon, and Tariq Woolen last year. Did that mean that you spent a lot of time in man coverage with those guys? Or did you stay with the majority of the time in zone coverage? Well, you stayed in zone. So Tariq and Devon Witherspoon are 2 of the best man cover corners in the league, yet Pete has our defense running man less than 20% of the time, says this post. So you can see, I'll bring it up a little bit bigger here. Hopefully you can see a little bit clearer. The underlined red, you want to be up in the upper right-hand corner here for this targeted graph, okay? For the corners that are up in the top right-hand are the ones that were really good in man coverage. So Jalen Johnson, you guys probably recognize him from Chicago Bears. Got some other names, Lante Taylor, Joey Porter down there, Patrick Surtain. So you see there's some good company that they're in there around with. But yes, your 2 corners last year in Tariq Woolen and Devon Witherspoon were some of the best graded guys when they were in man coverage situations. But as the poster says here, you were only in that less than 20% of the time. And why is that the case? The question I would post to the chat. Why, as a coach, would you look at the data and see, hey, our guys do this really great, but we're going to go do this thing instead? Do you guys think that may be because you had a coach that was married to his old scheme so fervently that he would overlook any kind of data that might show what those players do well, because he wants them to do what he wants them to do? So why does Tre Brown, who's so well up there in press, not have more snaps up in press despite being so great at it? Because you play man off press. He doesn't want to play man. Why is it that Tariq Woolen and Devon Witherspoon are 2 of the best man cover corners you will find in the NFL? Not the NFC West, not the NFC, in the NFL. You play man coverage less than 20% of the time because you have a head coach that's married so thoroughly to his scheme that he just can't look past his love of his scheme and wanting to run it his way to take advantage of what those players do well. And is this not the place that Mike Macdonald has lead into with what he said he's going to bring to the table? I'm going to lean into what the players do well. This is that easy advantage stuff that I talk about that a new coach could come in and take advantage of like that might actually bring some big results, even though you are going from simplicity to complexity. Because how hard is it going to be for Mike Macdonald to look at that very data I just showed you, or the Tre Brown is the number 1 press corner in the league, and just overlook past that and go, yeah, but my scheme. Yeah, but my scheme. No. What does this guy do well? What does this talented player do his best? Let's put him in that position. Let's collectively try to make sure we have all of our players put into that kind of position. And if we seek to do that, do we have a better defense from it? I think so. I dig Docs. Brandon, do you think Macdonald will use Reek and Spoon a lot in man coverage, or will it be another year of zone coverage for these guys? Well, Macdonald ran predominantly zone coverage last year, but I also don't think he had the kind of corners to work with that he's got to work with this year with the man stuff. And the history of going back with Macdonald in this defense and the origins of this defense going back to the Buddy Ryan days is that they predominantly want to play man on the outside. So he has the ability to go both ways. I think that there's going to be a heavy draw by Macdonald to go to more man-based coverage concepts this year when he's got both Witherspoon and Woolen on the outside. I do think he's going to lean into that. But that's the big part I like about Macdonald is I think he's more about leaning in, and his defense has the ability to do this versus other defenses that are more rigid in what they want and the requirements of the players. His is more flexible in leaning into the player's strengths and being able to really take advantage of it in full.